Welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Jacksonville Zoom at noon meeting. I will now call the meeting to order by ringing the Rotary bell. We have an exciting program today. Thank you for joining us. During the program, everyone will be on mute, so please feel free to submit questions by utilizing the chat function. I also want to remind everyone that today's presentation is being recorded. Tom Harris will provide today's invocation.
Tom, you'll need to unmute your name.
I have. Can you hear me, Sherry?
Yeah, we got you. We got you, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, we are in the season of the Jewish New Year. It's called Rosh Hashanah, and it's here, and it's a time for reflection and penitence, ending in 10 days with Yom Kippur. So in keeping with the season, I'd like to offer the following prayer. In this year, 5781, may we pursue the vision of peace, living harmoniously with each other, side by side, respecting differences, despising none, defrauding none, honoring every child of God and every creature of the earth, and may we nurture kindness and love everywhere. May all peoples know peace in this new year. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We had another great session on networking again today prior to this meeting. Be sure to log in and join us at 11:40 a.m. next Monday for more networking opportunities. Our club has several committees that meet on an ongoing basis. It's important to the function of our club for these committees to continue to meet and function. Chairs, if you have not met with your committees, please plan to host a committee meeting via Zoom before an upcoming noon meeting or immediately following a meeting. Sherry will work with you in setting up a breakout room during the process for your committee. Let us know if you've had any problems or questions. The Rotary Means Business District Fellowship will meet this Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Registration details are at DACDB. Go to the district calendar there to see how to attend. Be sure to mark your calendar for our district seminar on October 24th. We'll post more information as it becomes available. Kelly Shaw is an employee benefits professional with Highland. She's a Leadership Jacksonville class of 2020 graduate. She joined Rotary in 2017 and quickly became active. She helps with our annual Clay Target sporting event. She has hosted several of our online socials. She has chaired our club's signature event for 2 years and serves on our board. Kelly enjoys the outdoors. We are grateful for Kelly's leadership, her commitment to Rotary, and her community. Kelly will provide an update us about our club signature event and then introduce today's speaker. Kelly?
Thank you, President Jerry. Good morning, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Just an update for our signature event. I wanted to let everyone know that next Monday, September 28th, we will be meeting at the Red Cross building, which is actually on Riverside, just across the street from the Cummer Museum. We will be meeting at 3 o'clock, and we will be having a special program for sponsor recognition, the check presentation. Please wear your masks if you plan to attend, but we certainly would like to welcome all fellow Rotarians to join us for this exciting occasion. 3 o'clock next Monday, September 28th, at the Red Cross building on Riverside Avenue. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Zachary Faison to our program today. Dr. Faison is actually a new member of Rotary Club of Jacksonville. He joined us just about this time last year. As a transformational leader, President Zachary Faison uses his experiences and expertise within not only the field of post-secondary education, but also the legal profession to dramatically change the trajectory of Edward Waters College and its positioning within the city of Jacksonville and the state of Florida. With an intentionality on global access, quality academic programming, and active student engagement and success, President Faison has begun the process of shifting the narrative of Ed Waters College within the higher education landscape. Additionally, he continues to fight for and alongside the students of Ed Waters College, providing successful business continuity in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining also Dr. Faison today is Dr. Deshanna Brown, the Vice President of Institutional Advancement, Development, Marketing, and Communications. Yes, that is one title. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Dr. Faison to our program today. And Dr. Faison, I will turn it over to you.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so very much for that kind introduction, Kelly, and to President Jerry, and just to all of my fellow Rotarians. I know that there's a nip in the air today, so fall is certainly upon us, and just thank everyone for being here, and certainly for giving me an opportunity to share just a little bit about some of the work that's ongoing at Edward Waters College. So I'll jump right into it. I know that many of you may have some familiarity with Edward Waters College, but for those that don't, we are in fact the first independent institution of higher education in the state of Florida. And then we are the first historically Black college or university in the state of Florida. Not a lot of folks know that. A lot of folks often think that we're just the first HBCU, but we actually are the first private independent institution of higher education in our entire state. So we've been educating young folks for 154 years here at Edward Waters College, and are very proud of that. And so just to give you a little background in history, we were founded back in 1866 by the African Methodist Episcopal Church. As you might imagine, this was just after the Reconstruction era. And so the African Methodist Episcopal Church sent ministers and pastors down throughout the South, but of course here in the state of Florida, to build a school to educate recently enslaved folks and give them an opportunity to have access to education. That was one of the things that the African Methodist Episcopal Church thought important, was to be able to share their faith with those recently enslaved persons, but also be able to give them access to education was the second most important thing that they knew these those that were just recently in bondage were going to need as they look toward the future. The next slide. And so what came of that, again, was Edward Waters College. And our vision has been and remains to really become a national model for dynamic, globally diverse learning, and really be a champion for academic excellence, teaching and learning, and do that guided by a spirit of true servant leadership. We are unabashedly a small Christian, historically Black, urban liberal arts college that offers high quality baccalaureate degree programs. Let me just say that Edward Waters is one of four. There are four private colleges and universities that are under the auspices of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, Edward Waters being the largest amongst them. But there are four. Wilberforce University, which Wilberforce University was actually the first historically Black college or university in America, and it's located in Wilberforce, Ohio. And then you have Edward Waters, which of course is here in Jacksonville. You also have Allen University, which is in Columbia, South Carolina, and then Paul Quinn College, which is actually in Dallas, Texas. So the four of us are sister institutions that were all founded again by the African Methodist Episcopal Church. I'll pause and just say one more quick thing, because a lot of folks are oftentimes don't understand, well, what's this historically Black moniker? Does this mean that these schools are just for African Americans or just for Black folks? And no, that's not the case. They are historically Black. That doesn't mean that they're exclusively Black. As we know, back in the 1860s and early all the way until the mid 20th century, African Americans in this country were denied access to the colleges and universities around the country. And so these institutions were created in fact, to give African Americans an opportunity to be able to go to colleges and universities. So just so that we're all on the same page, these aren't institutions that are created or even ever have been designated only for African Americans. There certainly have been ethnicities from all over the world that have attended and do attend our institutions today. But they are historically Black in terms of when we speak of their progeny and their founding. So just to give you a little context there. So a little bit about me. I've now been the president at Edward Waters going on my 3rd year. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in higher education for about 15 years. I'm an attorney by trade. And so attended undergraduate school at Albany State University, which is in Southwest Georgia. It's a small, rural, historically Black college or university. And then attended law school at the University of Georgia and started my career as a state prosecutor in Georgia under the auspices of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, and did that work for a time and then transitioned to a career in higher education. I often share with students that it was very impactful work. I enjoyed it, but often it was not as rewarding as I wanted it to be, because my job as a prosecutor, although it was a tremendous benefit to the community, and I certainly believe and support the work that our prosecutors and law enforcement officers do in our community, but often we're on the back end of it. Particularly as a prosecutor, my job was to prosecute you, and I wanted to be able to have an impact upon young folks on the front end. And so that really is what kind of motivated me to begin doing work in higher education. And so I've served at about 6 different colleges and universities. Before coming to EWC, I was general counsel and vice president of external affairs at Tuskegee University. Some of you may have heard of the Tuskegee Airmen and the Red Tails and Booker T. Washington, very historic institution, and had prior experience in enrollment management and student affairs, and then also in fundraising and development. So that's just a little bit about my background, and I'm very, very excited about the work that we're doing and the opportunity that I have to serve the students, faculty, and staff now at EWC. So again, been at the institution now going on my 3rd year, and one of the things that we really did when we first came to the institution was really to do an assessment. You kind of come in and you have an opportunity to, what I like to call, uncover, discover, and really get a sense of where the institution is. And so we did that in our 1st year here, and what came out of that was a very dynamic 5-year institutional strategic plan. And we've called that plan at our institution Eminence 2025. It's what it is that we'd like to see Edward Waters College become by the year 2025. And there are about 4 kind of basic bedrock tenets that we have at the institution that really speak to the vision for Edward Waters College over the next 5 years. And the first tenet is for us to enhance our academic profile at the institution, and by really comprehensively inaugurating a competitive 21st century academic program of superlative excellence. So really retooling and refashioning just what our academic profile is at the institution. Secondly, we wanted to be able to create some sustainable financial viability through the development and implementation of a sustainable and progressive institutional business model. I know many of you all that are natives of Jacksonville or have been in and around the city for a long time. It's not a secret that in years gone past, EWC has had some challenges from a financial perspective. And so one of the things that we're wanting to do as we go forward is to really create that financial viability through, again, the development and implementation of a sustainable and progressive institutional business model. And I'm going to speak a little bit more about some strides we've made in that regard as we go forward. Thirdly, to really foster a genuine student-centered culture. You hear that a lot of times, and it's very cliche to say that we're student-centered, but we want to be very authentic about that in terms of our student-centeredness really being rooted in student leadership and development, student success and service, student engagement, and in student achievement. At the end of the day, as I share with our faculty and our staff, it's about what it is that you're producing, the quality of your graduates. Are those graduates able to compete in this global marketplace? And so that's what we're going to be measuring success by, and how we've begun to measure success going forward. And then lastly, to really engender a culture of institutional philanthropic support and establish the Edward Waters brand as the best-in-class institution of distinction and emerging eminence. Emerging eminence is kind of our theme. It's our ethos. It's our hashtag, if you will, as we are moving forward under this administration. One of the things that I'm hopeful that maybe some of you all have seen that may have some familiarity with me on social media and that kind of thing, is that I am big about branding Edward Waters College. I think Edward Waters College is one of the best kept secrets here in Jacksonville. I like to call us the higher educational crown jewel of Jacksonville. And so we have really made a very, very intentional effort to really brand and market the tremendous historicity and also the contemporaneous relevance of all of the services and support that we provide as an institution, as one of the most historic institutions, if not the most historic institution, not only in Jacksonville, but throughout our state. So we're very intentional about really setting our brand apart and telling our story. We know that no one can tell our story the way that we can here at the institution. So we've been very intentional around our engagement in the community and throughout with various community organizations, as well as our branding in terms of putting the Edward Waters College name out in our local community, as well as throughout the nation and the world. So I want to talk a little bit about strategic goal one. One of the challenges, and I'll just be very forthright, that I faced when I came to EWC, in my conversations in the community, there were a lot of questions around the academic acumen and the academic reputation of our institution. And so one of the things that I really challenged our faculty, our staff, and even my bosses, my board of trustees around, is that for forever, EWC had been what's called an open admissions institution. And we had a real focus upon wanting to give students that might not have an opportunity at higher education to give them that opportunity. And we certainly have not jettisoned that as one of our foremost goals. But at the same time, we also are in an age of high accountability. Folks have often questioned EWC's graduation rates and retention rates. And certainly there's a reason and rationale beyond the competitiveness of our institution that lended to that, namely being that we serve a student population of almost 90% Pell eligible students. Pell eligible meaning these are students that come from the lowest of low income students that are very much so socioeconomically challenged. And so when you look at Edward Waters' graduation and retention rates, and you might want to compare it to UNF or JU or even FSCJ, and I would just caution you and say, yeah, you got to make sure you're measuring apples to apples when you're making that comparison, because historically, those institutions don't serve the same demographic or socioeconomic demographic that Edward Waters typically serves. And so what happens oftentimes that we've seen is that when you look at a retention rate or a graduation rate, it's not that the student that's matriculating at Edward Waters is any less competitive. What you find is that their 4-year or 6-year graduation rate is far less at EWC, not because they're dropping out because they can't do the work, but often it's because of financial challenges. My students oftentimes take longer. My students often have to drop out for a period and have to come back. And so when you're looking at retention and graduation rates, it's important that we take into account the demographic, the overwhelming demographic of students that Edward Waters and institutions that are similarly situated to EWC typically serve. And so that certainly is part and parcel to it. But I think we also had to have a very honest conversation about also the competitiveness of the student that we were allowing or giving admission to. And so what we made a bold step back in the fall of 2019, where we implemented for the very first time regular and new and increased admission standards at the institution. No longer are we an open admissions institution. We do require a minimum high school core GPA of 2.5, and that's the core GPA, meaning those are your math, your science, your English, those core courses for admission to our institution. And we do have a minimum SAT or ACT score. That's a big change for EWC. It's a big change, but it's one that we thought was necessary as we want to really, again, improve our competitive profile as an institution, and at the same time, really be able to move the needle forward with regard to the quality of our graduates. Not to say that we've certainly have had very prodigious graduates in the past, but I think there's some semblance of what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so we wanted to make sure that we began to raise our standards and hold ourselves accountable for making sure that we are graduating students that are not just students of promise, but also students of high prowess as well. And so as a part of that, though, and you heard me mention earlier that we wanted to be very, very clear that we are not jettisoning our traditional mission, and that's providing opportunities for students that may have had difficulties in high school. Maybe they had some challenges in their home, and they can't meet the minimum grade point average and our SAT, ACT score. Well, EWC, what we created was what we call our Reverend Charles H. Pierce Summer Bridge Institute. So what it does is it still gives everyone an opportunity, even if you don't meet our minimum grade point average, don't meet our minimum SAT, ACT score, we're going to give you the opportunity to come to the institution over the summer and be able to take 3 credit-bearing courses, and as long as you're able to pass those courses with at least a 2.0, at least a C average, then you can be admitted to the institution for regular admissions. Next slide. I think I saw a question, who is Edward Waters? Edward Waters was the 3rd African Methodist Episcopal Bishop of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. So that's who Edward Waters is named after. Edward Waters was the 3rd Bishop of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. So again, as we talk about enhancing our academic profile, one of the things that we established is our Center for Undergraduate Research that we established back in the fall of 2019 as well. One of the real priorities that we have as an institution is to see a much higher proportion of our students going on to graduate and or professional school. I've shared with our students, our faculty and staff, that our goal and the mark of success for EWC now and going forward is not just graduating. I mean, we assume if you're coming to college that we take on the accountability and the responsibility of graduating you. But in 2020, the value proposition of a college or university degree is sorely challenged. And so we've got to go beyond just wanting to graduate students, but wanting to make sure that they're adequately prepared for the world of work and or to go on to graduate and professional school. And so our Center for Undergraduate Research is a tool that we have begun to implement with the aim of being able to prepare our students to go on to graduate and professional school. And what has come out of that already are 2 peer-reviewed journals. So we now have 2 journals. One of them is our student journal. It's our HBCU Journal on Research that our students for the last 2 years, it includes some of their research, some of their writings. It's available on Amazon for you to purchase, as well as our first journal that came from our faculty. Next slide. We also have established for the first time in our institution's history an honors college. We're very excited about our honors college. We were able to do it with an investment from the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund. And our first honors college cohort was called our Alpha cohort. This consisted of about 20 students. Go ahead, next slide. And just to kind of give you an idea of kind of this students, the average grade point average in that group was an average of 4.0. Average SAT score of 1130. So really talking about really moving the needle with regard to the competitiveness of the students that we have at our institution. And then this past fall, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we just welcomed in our beta cohort. So this is our second group of young people. So now we have 40 total students that are part of our honors college. This group had an average grade point average of 4.0, nearly 1100 on the SAT. And so we're very, very excited about our new honors college at the institution. Next slide. We also, as a part of our Eminence 2020-25 strategic plan, we are moving very aggressively to expand our academic offerings and programs. You currently see on the left there, those are our existing academic programs. And we really took a survey of a cross-section of our academic community. We also brought in a third-party consultant to help us look at what are the majors of the future that are leading to the jobs for the future for graduates. And so what you see on the right are about 6 programs: social work, computer and information science, forensic science, nursing. We're actually right now in the process of completing a memorandum of understanding with the UF College of Nursing, which is, of course, is right here in Jacksonville, to establish a dual degree program in biology and nursing for our students. We're engaged in a dual degree conversation right now with Florida A&M to offer the pharmacy degree. And then lastly, our Masters of Business Administration. So these are all prospective programs that we had the vision for it. And once we were able to establish the vision, we said, well, how are we going to make this happen? And so the next thing that we did is we also knew that we wanted to move very, very aggressively into the online space. And so in April of 2019, we were approved by our accrediting body to offer our first online degree program, which is our CLIMB program. It's a bachelor's degree in business administration. But at the same time, we also were approved to offer all of our degree programs online. So you're going to see in the next about 12 months, Edward Waters really moving very aggressively in terms of new academic programs, and a good number of those academic programs being offered online. And so this is going to be something that we're very excited about, that we know is going to portend much growth for us as an institution. Next slide. Obviously, you know, it's one thing to have a vision, but I have a saying that a vision without provision is merely an illusion. So we had the vision for all these new academic programs, but didn't have the resources to be able to bring those programs into fruition. Well, that was until this past summer, when through the benevolence of our state legislature, EWC was the recipient of $3.5 million in additional state support. And so that $3.5 million is going to buttress the promulgation of the new academic programs that you heard me speak about. Our academic leadership right now is working on getting all of the prospectus in for all these new programs into our accrediting body, and we will be looking to launch all those programs that you heard me mention just a moment ago, including our first master's degree program in business administration, which will move EWC to EWU. The promulgation of our first graduate program will in fact make us a university. So we're very excited about that. Next slide.
Millions of state dollars are being allocated to Florida's historically black colleges and universities. For Jacksonville's Edward Waters College, it's something the school's president calls truly transformative. The governor's budget includes $6.4 million for Edward Waters College. That's a $3.5 million increase. Joining me here on the morning show, EWC President Dr. Zachary Faison. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Good morning.
You know, this opens the door to so much opportunity for thousands of students to continue their education, and a chance for EWC to expand its academic offerings.
Yes, absolutely. We were so very, very thankful for the benevolence of our state legislature and Governor DeSantis in investing this $3.5 million in additional state funding for Edward Waters College.
Now, you call this transformative. So not only what you just talked about, but this will lead to the college's first graduate degree program. It's really exciting.
Absolutely. We are very, very excited. We really are going to be able to utilize these funds to help us in advancing our academic profile. And one of those, as you mentioned, will be the advent of our first graduate degree program, which we intend to be a graduate degree program in business administration. And so, you know, once we can continue and complete that process, then in fact, we will transition Edward Waters College to Edward Waters University. So it's a very exciting time at EWC.
So that's more than just a name change. What does that imply? How does that enhance the school's standing?
Well, what it actually implies is that we now offer graduate degree programs. So the program that we are intending to utilize these funds for, that would be a graduate degree program, would be a master's degree, again, in business administration. So what it really does is really marks the overall expansion of our academic profile to be able to bring on graduate degree programs at the institution. And so it really is a part of kind of our.
So just wanted to give you a little insight with regard to some of the developments that we've had from an academic perspective. And I saw a question. Yes, we are accredited by SAC COC. We've been accredited by SAC-COC since the mid-'70s. So that is our accrediting body, is SAC-COC. So kind of moving into our second strategic goal is really to create that financial viability at the institution. And so one of the things that we found when I came on at the institution in July of 2018 was that the institution was suffering from about a $2 million net cash deficit at that time. And so obviously that presented a number of challenges. And really it has been a primary contributor that's really kind of hampered our progress as an institution for over a decade. And so one of the things that we sought to do that was a real priority for us, for me in this administration, was to really get the institution on a more solid financial ground. And one of the options that we had through exploring was to partner with the Reinvestment Fund. They are a nonprofit entity that works with colleges, universities. They also work with other nonprofits that have an educational lean, that are nerve centers within their community, to help them to be able to do some creative financing to help them really build a stronger financial base. And the institution had really gone to a number of different financial entities, both here locally and throughout the country for years, seeking some assistance. And so we were very pleased and ecstatic that at the end of this past fiscal year, through our new partnership with the Reinvestment Fund, we were actually able to eliminate our cash deficit. And we ended this past fiscal year with nearly a $4 million net cash surplus, our first net cash end of year surplus in over a decade at EWC. So it really portended a very stronger financial positionality for our institution, and we're very excited for what the future can hold in that regard. Now, one of the things that the additional $3.5 million from the state, along with us being able to really strengthen our financial position in terms of our new partnership with the Reinvestment Fund, really enabled us to do was to be able to help our students in an unprecedented way. One of the things that I'm most excited about, that we did something this past summer that no other college or university in the middle of the pandemic was able to do. And that was, let's go to our next slide.
A local private college is taking a big step to help returning students continue their education. The president of Edward Waters College announced today that all tuition, housing, and activity fees for returning full-time students will be on the house for the upcoming fall and spring semesters. News 4 Jax reporter Joe McLean is live on campus tonight. And Joe, you've been looking into how the college is able to make such a move.
Right, no cost college. It seems a little bit too good to be true, but that's essentially what was announced here at EWC. Some expected state funds and a more sturdy financial situation here at the college is what is making this possible. In an effort to retain its student population, Edward Waters College announced an initiative, #WeGotYou.
Every single student that wants to come back to Edward Waters College, we will pay the balance of your fall 2020 and spring 2021 semester charges.
Tuition, room and board, and activity fees will all be covered for students in the coming academic year. But there are some conditions. First, only returning students who were enrolled full-time last spring are eligible. Also, students have to submit their FAFSA to the federal government. And even if it's eventually rejected, students have to at least apply for the Parent Plus loan as well. This aid program's goal is to get students to return to the college this fall amid the financial strain brought on by COVID-19.
If you want to come back to school, don't worry about a balance. We're clearing.
So we were really excited to be able to unveil that. As you heard me mention earlier, when you talk about our retention rates, when you're talking about our enrollment, again, our challenge had been traditionally that our students simply couldn't afford to come back to us. Well, and through this We Got You initiative, we saw a tremendous jump in our retention this year. 83% of our students, 82.7% of our students came back to us from last year to this year. That is phenomenal in terms of retention among students. And so this year, in the middle of this unprecedented pandemic, EWC's enrollment actually hit a record, the highest enrollment that we've had in about 15 years, at about 869 students. That's our highest enrollment, again, 969 students. It's our highest enrollment in over 15 years, and much of that was due to our being able to retain our students, such that they had the financial wherewithal to continue their programs of study here at the institution. Next slide. Our third strategic priority, again, being student-centered. I'll just touch on this real quickly. One of the challenges that our students have had, and we really have made some very aggressive steps to help them in this regard, is with regard to a lack of technology. So one of the things that we're really excited about is that for every single first-time, full-time student at Edward Waters from now all the way through the year 2025, every single student at EWC will be issued their own personal, for them to keep, brand new laptop computer. We're very excited about that. It was something that we really wanted to do, was be able to put technology in the hands of our students such that they could really be on the cutting edge of their research and really being able to really operate at a high and optimum level. Next slide. We also have, during COVID, this has certainly impacted our students, many of whom had to stay home remotely. So EWC is operating in a hybrid format. So we gave parents and students the option of coming back to campus or remaining at home to continue their programs of study. So we've upgraded our learning management system, upgraded our infrastructure around the campus. We provide PPE to all of our students, faculty, and staff. We've upgraded our cleaning and sanitization protocols on the campus. Thus far, we're keeping our fingers and toes and legs and everything crossed. We have not had any kind of significant outbreaks on our campus, as you're seeing all across the country. One of the things that we think has helped us in that regard is we moved everything to single occupancy only. So all of our students that are on our campus are in single rooms, and of course we're keeping them away from any kind of crowding. When we have hybrid learning where students can take their courses strictly virtually, utilizing Zoom and WebEx and other platforms. We're also very excited about the fact that we've got a lot of new construction that's going on our campus in terms of capital projects. So this fall, we will close out the brand new, it's about a little over $4 million renovation of our largest student residence facility. So we're very excited about that. Next slide. And it will be finished this fall. So we're really excited here. I think we have some pictures of some of the renovated rooms that we have. Yes, some of the renovated rooms. And so it's really going to improve the experiential experience of our students on our campus. So we're very excited about that. And then lastly, our last strategic priority is really, again, around branding our institution. And so one of the things that we've done is we've totally revamped our website. We have made a very intentional effort to really ingratiate ourselves with the community, certainly with Rotary and being a Rotarian and the Civic Council, Leadership Jacks, working very closely with the Chamber. So we're very excited about our expanded engagement with the community right here in Jacksonville. Next slide. From a philanthropic perspective, we are very intentional about being able to convey the value proposition of Edward Waters and how an investment in Edward Waters is absolutely an investment in this community, particularly in the Northwest Jacksonville portion of our community. And so we certainly have been very appreciative of the support that we have been getting from our business community with regard to investing in Edward Waters College and its students. And then when we talk about capital projects again and fundraising, we're very excited about the fact that next year, sometime in 2021, we're going to be bringing to the city of Jacksonville the very first UNCF Mayor's Masked Ball. This is a seminal signature event that's held all over the country. If you go to the next slide, they have these events all over the country, and we're very appreciative that our mayor here, Lenny Curry, has agreed to host Jacksonville's first Mayor's Masked Ball. And it's a great event where we raise scholarship dollars specifically for students at Edward Waters. And again, they're held all over the country, and they are signature events, and we certainly hope that you and your business entities will participate in it. It is a great event, and we'll be sharing more information about that as we go into the new year. Lastly, last strategic goal, again, we've been very intentional around our branding. We just inked a new deal with Nike for all of our athletic teams. We believe that athletics really is the front porch to any college or university. And we're very excited about all that we're doing from an athletic perspective at our institution. We are now the only, I say we're the only show in town for college football. So we're very excited about that. Next slide, please. One of the things that we're doing is we are getting ready to make the transition to the NCAA Division II level. Our application will go in this December. So we had been members of the NAIA. We're now transitioning or seeking to transition to the NCAA Division II level. We'll be a part of the SIAC conference. We got an invitation from the SIAC conference back about a year or so ago. And again, as we talk about branding our institution, this conference features institutions like Morehouse College, Tuskegee University, Clark Atlanta University, a number of those that have a lot of kind of name and brand recognition in the higher education space. So we're very, very excited about that. Next slide. We've added new sports. This fall, we added our first women's soccer program. We've also added indoor and outdoor track. That certainly has helped to buttress our enrollment. And again, as we look toward the future, we're looking to add men's volleyball, as well as reinstituting our golf program, hopefully within the next year. So we're very, very excited about that as well. We'd like for you to know that we're hosting here in Jacksonville the GCAC basketball tournament. There are about 9 different teams that will descend on Jacksonville from all over the country that will be here, hopefully COVID-19 notwithstanding, this coming March. And so we are certainly looking for sponsors and for persons that would like to be a part of this. It is a great event. The institution hosted it back in 2019. It draws thousands and thousands of fans to our city, and Edward Waters is certainly proud to be able to host the GCAC basketball tournament as we go forward. Next slide. Let's just keep going. And I'll close. I know we need time for questions, but of course our football field is being built right now. We are probably about 45 to 60 days to seeing it completed, and it certainly is going to be an exciting addition, not just to EWC, but to our entire community. It is a community field and stadium. It has a walking track as we really try to promote health and wellness, particularly in our Northwest Jacksonville community. And we're just very, very excited for this new addition. It's about a $4.3 billion project and it's nearing completion right now. And I have a 1-minute video that I will close out with to show you. And then let's go. And so, yes, so we're about 30 days, probably out 30 to 45 days when that facility will be completed. That's kind of a drone shot that we took just last week. It will be 2-sided. The seating is probably about 3,000. And again, it's going to be open to our community. And the very last thing I'll say is that we're excited about the fact that EWC's brand, as we talked about, is really, really advancing for the last 2 years, 2019 and this year. EWC has been cited by the HBCU Campaign Fund as one of the top 10 smaller HBCUs in the country that are rising. So we're very, very proud to have that designation. And we really think it speaks to the forward trajectory that we are moving on as an institution. So thank you so much. And I'm open to questions.
President Faison, we have a number of questions. We're probably only going to get to 1 or 2 of them because We went a little bit longer than I thought we were. First question is from Thomas Harris. What percentage of freshmen are from outside Jacksonville? And what percentage of graduates generally stay or plan to stay in the community?
So I can get you those specific numbers. I will tell you that we don't have a lot of students that come from Jacksonville. Most of our students come from South Florida. And so that certainly is a strategy of ours to really be able to cast our buckets down where we are. And I think that's part of why we've made a very intentional effort to really kind of get out into the high schools, into the community here. But I'll be honest with you. And I think that, this is just going to be a transparent conversation. Reputationally, we suffered here locally. And so I think it's one of the things that we've got to continue to work on is for folks to see EWC locally as a viable option. We get more students outside of Jacksonville than we do here in Jacksonville. I get students from Georgia. I get students from South Florida, Orlando. That's where we get a great number of our students. Certainly we have some students that come to us from Jacksonville, but we've got to do more there. And so we're really trying to be very aggressive and intentional in that regard.
President Faison, it's a question from Nancy Bernard. It is very exciting to have you lead EWC. Will you address how EWC is teaming with businesses in Jacksonville to offer scholarships, internships, jobs, etc.?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that is a high priority for us. So one of the things that we have through Dr. Brown, our Office of Institutional Advancement, as well as our Career Services Office, we are absolutely looking to be able to partner with the business community. We want internships and externships for our students. So if you or your business are interested in being able to have some of our students to get some real world experience at the same time that they are matriculating and persisting through the institution, we absolutely welcome those opportunities. We're always looking for those kind of opportunities for our students here at EWC.
Dr. Faison, the last question is going to be from Bill Sorensen. This is very exciting. Wonderful to have leadership. The success of Edwards Waters University is critical for our community. How can the Rotary Club of Jacksonville and other community service organizations best help you and your students?
Thank you for that. A couple of things. One, send students our way. As students are coming through high school and oftentimes they're looking to go away to school, we're asking them to look right here. You have a institution of higher education that is giving you quality, affordable educational opportunities. So send us your students. That's one thing. And the other thing is we need your support. Again, as you heard me mention before, we have traditionally served a population of students that suffer tremendously with regard to socioeconomic challenges. And so, it's again, I tell everyone that I have some of the best students in the world, but oftentimes they're not able to persist, they're not able to graduate because of a lack of finances. It's not that they don't have the ability. We often have traditionally had to turn away students that get to their sophomore or junior year, and they're an A student, but they've got to go home because they've got to work. They've got to take care of this younger sibling and that kind of thing. And then often we know that when they stop out, they don't come back. And so we need your support. We need your dollars, of course, but we also need your time. We need your expertise. You talked about internships, externships. We desperately need those so that we can be able to, again, pair the theoretical and the instructional experience that our students are getting in the classroom with that real world work experience and business experience that they're going to need to be competitive when they leave the institution. So those are the kinds of things that we really need at EWC, and we certainly would appreciate your support.
President Faison, thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today about what you're doing at Edward Waters College, soon to be university. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Be sure to join us next Monday for Zoom at noon, where past President Howard Dale will introduce Professor Jim Crooks from UNF. Jim is a recognized expert on the history of race relations in Jacksonville. He will speak on Jacksonville, Race Relations, A Tale of Two Cities. I mentioned last week we need a few volunteers who are tech savvy that can help us with a few projects for the club revolving around Zoom. If you are Zoom proficient, we would love to have your help. We also need backup support for website updates. If you can help and want to help, please contact Sherry. At the conclusion of this meeting, our Zoom platform will remain open. Some of you are the Public Image Committee meeting with Don Alexander has been canceled. Sorry. There's going to be a Rotary Charity Foundation Board meeting. So if you'll just stay on this, you'll get a message which will ask you to join. It'll be a pop-up box. If you're going to be attending the Rotary Charity Foundation Board meeting, when that message appears, please click on it and it will launch you into the Rotary Charity Foundation Board meeting. If you want to be in that meeting and you don't have a pop-up box, please contact me or contact Sherry and we'll ensure you get into the meeting. This Zoom meeting will remain open for those of you who would like to communicate in it in other ways. That concludes our meeting. Thank you so much for staying with us as we've gone through this. Thank you again, President Zachary.
Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes today's meeting.